Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about coloring metals, specifically yellow metals like bronze, brass, copper, and gold. I will take you through a time lapse of my own coloring, share my technique, and explain the theory behind it. And if you stay till the very end, I have a few surprises and gifts to share with you, so stick around to find out what those are and how you can get your hands on them. Metals can be very tricky to approach because they're shiny, and their shine changes depending on what position you're viewing them from. So how do you know where to apply the highlights and how to deliver the illusion of that shine to begin with? There are three main ways that colorists can approach the yellow metal effect. Gold leaf, like gel pens or a variety of metallic paints. Gold pencils, most color pencil sets come with one. Or a collection of non-metallic color pencils. I've pre-drawn these three samples for you. Let's examine them. I used a gold pen on the first plaque. You can see that it is indeed very gold, very shiny, but also very flat. Gold leaf is great for decoration and for bringing out contrast and color in fantasy and abstract art. For instance, I used it here as my background. But for actual metallic objects, it doesn't really work. You would lose all the definition and you would constantly need to turn the page to even see the shine. It's also very difficult to photograph. Next up, we have the gold pencil. Gold pencils get a bad rap because, well, they don't really look gold, do they? We all get excited when we find one in our pencil set and think that applying them to metal objects will magically make them look gold, but it doesn't. You can see here that it does have a bit of a sheen to it, but it looks very much gray. On the upside, I was able to get a bit of a gradient and definition on this. I do actually use gold pencils quite a bit, but never for metallic objects. I like to use them as an undertone for grayish-yellowish objects like skulls and bones. Finally, for the third plaque, I used these three pencils to create the metallic effect. You can see that nothing happens when I turn the page. The plaque itself is not metallic like the first ones were, but the illusion of the shiny surface is now permanent. I use this technique for more complex metallic subjects like body armor or mechanisms. Now, these were just boring old flat panels. Let's see what happens when we apply the third method to a complex object. To demonstrate my technique, I drew this Chinese door knocker to practice on. I specifically designed it in a way that displays multiple types of surfaces. You can see that there's a face, there's a ring, and there are flat border parts all around. Let's make it out of brass. Brass is very much like gold in color, but not quite as exquisite and delicate. I printed my line drawing on gray-toned paper because I like to have the gray undertone even for yellow-colored metals. It also makes the white effect especially striking. I usually start with white. In this case, white charcoal. If you're working on white paper, the strategy is very similar. But instead of adding white over gray, you need to get the same look, but by shading the gray areas and leaving the white areas blank. This way, you're using the white of the page as your highlights. Now you see why I like working on gray paper so much. It's a lot faster to add white over gray than to have to shade all those gray areas just to bring out a little bit of the white highlight. You can achieve the same exact result both ways, but the gray paper way is much faster, and often more intuitive. I then pick my darkest brown tone that I will use on this piece and add dark shadows all around the seams. You may have noticed on bronze and brass castings that they collect a lot of dust and rust and grime in the seams. That extra bit of dark definition will help emphasize the illusion of a 3D metallic object. Next, I add my main color. In this case, I chose a beautiful yellow ochre, which is like a bright yellow mustard color. I apply it all over, blending it with my brown as I go, but leaving most of the white highlights untouched. I want this door knocker to be really polished and shiny. I wanted the ring to be slightly different in color, but very smooth in texture, perhaps from all the hands that have touched it over the years. I add a little less yellow here and a little more blue. I used pale blue and very dark blue along with yellow and brown to achieve this effect, again leaving the white highlights alone. For the flat border part, I wanted to try something different. Since it's very flat, I wanted it to reflect a lot of light, so I made it very pale, even more pale than the page itself. I used a 10% cool gray for that effect, and I blended it with my dark brown in circular pencil marks to suggest the direction in which the metal had been polished. And finally, I go over the whole piece with a simple black, just around the lines of the seams, the openings like the nostrils and the mouth, the darkest parts. I don't use a lot of black, I only use it to bring out the contrast a little bit. As you can see, I used very few colors to achieve this brass effect. You really only need dark brown, a yellow or a mustard, some cool blues or grays, black, and either white or the white of your page. The trick is to be consistent with your colors. You can see here that the face is very uniformed. The eyes, for instance, are the same exact color and material as the rest of it. So are the teeth and the lips. There's a tendency to add different colors to different features of the face, but when working in metal, it's important to keep in mind that the entire subject needs to have consistent color and texture. Now it's your turn. In my Facebook group Tom, I've created an album called YouTube Pages. In it, you will find this line drawing and 2 more gift pages for you to play with. One with a background and one without. These are some simple but very fun metallic objects for you to practice on. So join the group if you haven't already, find the album, grab your pages, and enjoy the coloring. Please tag me in your posts when publishing your colorings outside of my group. I'm Lisa Mitrakin on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all the others. Very simple hashtag. If you enjoyed this video, please take a moment to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you don't already, share with your friends, and of course share your colorings of metal objects in my group Tom. I'm Lisa Mitrakin. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!